we expect, but they keep asking where we're going next. All we're chasing is the sunset. Got my mind on you. Doesn't matter where we are. Doesn't matter where we are.
Hey guys, welcome back to Josh's Skill School. This week on the agenda, we've got Ruckus Smith.
Hey guys, my name is Ruckus Smith. I am hoping to trial out for the QC Unigame soccer team. In order to do this, I really think I need to improve my left foot shot, and because of that, I've come to Josh for guidance and some help.
Before we go on to analyse Ruckus kicking, we must first look at the biomechanical principles involved when shooting in soccer. The study of biomechanics is a science that examines the internal and external forces acting on the human body and the effects produced by these forces. Biomechanics and its application to the sport is significant, with biomechanics able to help optimize performance through efficiency and effective techniques, the reduction of injuries, to change and improve equipment to maximize performance, as well as helps transfer necessary skills from practice to a game situation. There are a number of biomechanical principles that relate directly to the motion of kicking in soccer. Because of the complexity of the motion, with multiple muscles working both simultaneously and one after the other, a number of these biomechanical principles have to be addressed in order for an effective and successful kicking action to be achieved. Force summation is a key biomechanical principle that affects the action of kicking a soccer ball. In terms of soccer, there is a sequential movement of force that occurs. Sequential movement of force, or force summation, is when a number of muscles work together to create a greater force. Generally, force summation uses a large number of muscles, with the more muscles being used culminating in a greater force created. However, such complex movements do require precise timing, with the optimal acceleration point of each movement the cue for the next muscle to begin. Anything other than this would see a decrease in the force that is imparted. In most cases, force summation begins in the larger body parts and continues onto the lighter and smaller body parts, thus allowing for the larger culmination of force being created. In relation to a soccer kick, force summation can be split into 5 stages. The transfer of body weight from the abdominal muscles pushing the body forwards, the hips moving forwards as the leg trails behind, the thighs and quads moving forward as the leg is still trailing behind, the lower leg straightens and continues to move towards the ball, and the foot straightens to make contact with the ball. This can be seen in a slowed down clip of a professional player shooting. The smooth movement through each of these stages allows for maximum power to be generated and transferred into the soccer ball. An inability to do this can cause for an erratic shot or less powerful kick. This is seen often in people with the cognitive ability and a skill, as the number of body parts used is often less than it could be. For example, an amateur may only use their leg to swing at the ball, discounting their abdominal power, thus generating less force. Because of this, performance can of course be impacted if the summation of forces is not sufficient and doesn't generate enough force. The use of levers is paramount in performance in relation to kicking a soccer ball. There are 3 classes of levers. However, the one that is present in the current skill is the third class lever. The third class lever's main job is to increase leverage. It sees the fulcrum located at the hip, with the force being applied between this hinge point and the point of impact, the resistance. In a soccer kick, however, the efficiency of the action is compromised by the length of the lever. A longer lever meaning less control. This is overcome by shortening the lever at the knee in the earliest stages of the action, and only lengthening the lever to full extension near the end of the action. This allows for an increase in efficiency, control, and power, as a longer lever has a greater velocity and its endpoint creating a faster motion. The shortened lever allows for a greater control of the motion. The involvement of other body parts, such as the quad and abdominals, because of the shortened lever, allows for the force summation of greater power. In direct reference to kicking a soccer ball, without the smooth and efficient movement through the lever system, the performance of the skill would be greatly inhibited, as accuracy and power would be greatly impacted. For example, if the shortening of the lever did not occur, and there would be less control, and the likelihood of an erratic shot would increase. Similarly, if the full extension was not achieved upon impact with the soccer ball, there would be a decrease in power transferred into the soccer ball. As such, the correct use of the third lever system is important to performance. Newton's third law of motion states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. For example, in relation to soccer, the impact of the foot onto the ball imparts force on the ball, and as such, propels the ball in an equal and opposite reaction. This can have a large impact on performance in a number of ways, because an equal and opposite reaction is created whilst kicking the ball. Foot placement on the ball is incredibly important to gain greater accuracy. If the wrong part of the foot was used to kick the ball, perhaps one that had a smaller surface area, then the shot would likely be more erratic and would not be beneficial to the performance. To help Raka improve, I must first see him striking the ball, so I am able to see where he needs to improve, and from there, I will design activities to help improve his skills. There are a number of issues with the action of the applicant before he has been through the training process. The easiest to examine is the placement of his foot on the ball. The applicant, through his very front-on run-up and lack of side-on motion through the kick stride, tends to kick the ball with the front of his foot. This creates a number of problems biomechanically, especially in the areas such as force summation and levers. However, most importantly, it means that the applicant is unable to direct the kick as he wants to. Because of the lack of the flat surface area on the front of the foot, the impact of the ball has a very small impact point of success, thus meaning the ball has a higher possibility of missing its intended target. Foot placement is important because it has been shown that approach angles can significantly affect a number of body dynamic velocities at ball contact, including the body center of mass. Ultimately, a front-on foot action does not equate to a 45-degree approach, which is where linear velocity of the body center of mass remained fairly constant. As such, the approach path made by skilled players is curved, and as a consequence, the body is inclined towards the center of rotation. This relates to Newton's third law: every action has an equal and opposite reaction, as it is important to the player that the reaction to the impact upon the ball is one that allows the ball to travel in its intended direction. In relation also to Newton's third law is a player's lack of arm movement. Generally, whilst kicking a soccer ball, Choi-Soich states that the player's opposite arm to the ball acts as a counterbalance to the player's as he sets himself to kick. Furthermore, the arm also lifts the body up, with the arm pointing forward, and stops the player from dropping to one side. As can be seen in the footage, the player lacks a counterbalance arm, whilst also seeming to miss most shots to the right of the post, dragging the shot significantly. This relates to a number of biomechanical principles, but most namely Newton's third law, as the player is not creating an action that is going to achieve the reaction that he wishes. The player also fails to use the lever system to its potential. The player instead does not use a lot of muscles that would increase the power and accuracy of the shot, and also doesn't use the maximum length of the lever available. As can be seen in the footage, there are a number of issues with the way the player kicks the ball. Firstly, the run-up of the player uses is very unreliable, with too many steps being taken to approach the ball. This means the player is not in a smooth rhythm in approach to the ball, whilst also making it harder for the player to plant a set foot, using the opposite leg near the ball, upon which the lever in usage, the leg, can balance on to swing freely from its axis point. As mentioned previously, a longer lever has a greater velocity, and the ability to swing freely is crucial to gaining the necessary velocity to create a powerful shot. Furthermore, the lack of an extended swing of the leg means the player is unable to utilize the maximum amount of muscles available in the motion, such as the abdominals or the quads. Because of this, the force summation is greatly inhibited. The lack of set foot means the player is not able to generate large amounts of force through abdominals and quads because the body is not set. Instead of creating force, these muscles instead have to balance the body when in fact, other body parts such as the arm should be counterbalancing. This means these larger muscles are unable to act as cue points for other smaller body parts, with the optimal point of acceleration the cue for the next muscles of the body part to begin. Without the optimal acceleration point being evident, what should be a smooth kick motion is hurried and all over the place. As such, a smooth and sequential movement of force through the body is not apparent. Ultimately, the difference between cognitive athletes and professional athletes players is that elite footballers use a refined and consistent movement pattern, where novices use a variable and inconsistent one. As can be seen in the footage, the player is failing to utilize all body parts available to him and has an inconsistent movement pattern, and as such, sees a weaker and less powerful shot as a result. By the time the player has completed the kick motion, and is about to kick the ball, there is a lack of power and force available to the smaller body parts. As mentioned before, the lack of an arm movement to counterbalance the kick is a major part of the reason why there is no set foot and he is dragging a lot of shots. The player is simply not balanced enough. During this phase of the motion, the player's eyes are focused on the ball, the opposite arm to the kicking leg is raised and pointed in the kicking direction to counterbalance the rotating body. Lees and Nolan reported that the arm and raise should create a hip-shoulder separation and creates a positive impact on the kicking motion. The lack of arm movement to counterbalance equates to no set foot being applied, meaning it is impossible for each body part to stabilize and unable to trigger each body part sequentially at another's maximum point of acceleration. For example, the full force generated through the quads and the lower leg are unable to be used as the abdominals and hips have not transferred only through these body parts, with the force instead continuing in a forward direction as the player continues to run forward after he has kicked the ball because of the lack of balance and plant foot. Sports, however, is not entirely revolved around technique and skill, as psychology and mental strength plays a major role. The form of anxiety that applies to Raka's situation, where he becomes anxious and apprehensive before shooting for goal, is called state anxiety. State anxiety, according to the New South Wales Government, is characterised as a state of heightened emotion that develops in response to a fear of a particular situation. State anxiety can be a considerable factor in an athlete's performance. A simple solution to prevent Raka's anxiety levels from affecting his performance in a detrimental manner would be to utilize positive self-talk and visualization. Before each game, Raka should visualize himself being successful throughout the game by scoring all of his shots at goal. Using positive self-talk, such as "I can make this shot" and "take it easy, I can do it," just before striking the ball in a game will also help calm himself down and increase his confidence levels intrinsically. Being able to overcome any anxiety in a high-performance situation will significantly enhance Raka's physical performance and thus his shot percentage will increase, even in relatively difficult situations. Performance levels of an athlete can also be disturbed by their emotional state before and during a game. The inverted U model, also known as the Yerkes-Dodson law, is an idea created by psychologists which suggests that peak performance occurs when an athlete undergoes a moderate level of arousal and anxiety. According to Burton, this model reinforces the notion that self-confidence and performance level share a positive linear relationship, whereas anxiety levels and performance share a negative one. In terms of Raka's situation, if he is under or over-aroused during a game, his performance level won't be at the greatest possible ability, because his concentration would be elsewhere. Once again, using the self-talk and visualization techniques will help ensure Raka's emotional state is at the optimal level to achieve performance-wise. The use of praise by his teammates and coach will allow for Raka's confidence levels to increase. After success, if he is praised, then his basic psychological need for competency will be fulfilled. Praise will help Raka to feel motivated to practice and achieve more often because he will feel competent and confident enough with his own abilities, which means he is intrinsically motivated. Confidence is an elusive state of mind related to performance levels, as stated by Halliwell. And so if Raka is more intrinsically motivated, he will be able to perform at a considerably higher level. By introducing these concepts and techniques to Raka, his psychological state will improve, and thus will his performance, because, as stated by Courtenay, the mind is the athlete, the body is simply the means it uses to shoot straighter. After analysing Raka's performance, I will now go into devise training drills to help him improve his technique and performance.
Okay Raka, so for this next activity we're going to be working on the placement of your foot and the position where you strike the ball. Alright, so for this one I've created a piece of paper that wraps around your foot that you're going to be striking the ball with and coloured in sections from ideal, which will be coloured black, to red, which is where you're striking it at the moment. Okay, so currently what you're doing is you're striking it either on the side of the foot or directly right on top. And what we're going to be wanting for you from that today is just to get right in the middle of that and just go along the edge if you can, and that's where the black section is going to be on the paper.
Raka initially struggled with this, as he kept going either too much to the side or on top. However, after several attempts, he managed to achieve the desired placement of his foot on the ball, as can be seen in the footage shown.
Okay Raka, so for this next activity, I'm going to be holding a pole just above the ball and just a bit past it. So what I want you to do is when you strike the ball, I want you to follow through with your foot and make sure that your foot makes connection with the pole that I'm holding up, just lightly, just so as you're coming through, you make connection with the ball. The reason why we're going to be doing this is I want you to follow through with the ball to gain more power.
Raka initially began with a similar technique to previous, as the follow-through pole was only hitting his shin. However, by moving closer to the net and having less focus on where the ball ended up, his follow-through managed to improve drastically, as can be seen in the footage shown.
Alright, so for this next activity, similar to the following through with the feet, we're going to do one for the arms. We're going to have you follow through with your arms and hold your hands up to engage the full momentum of your body and really follow through with the whole swing of your body here. So I'm going to be holding a pole up just above your body, just to the side, and we're just going to have you just put your arm up, your right hand up, and just tap it as you follow through and strike the ball.
Sounds good.
Alright?
Yep.
Raka struggled to begin with, as he was often too focused on either the ball or the pole. However, after having some encouraging words with Raka and complimenting his progress so far, he managed to stay focused and eventually get the desired outcome.
Okay Raka, so for this activity, we've set up a zone 5 meters behind the ball, and we've given you a maximum 7 steps to take before you're allowed to come in and strike the ball. The purpose of this one is to allow you to come in and strike the ball when you're at full length stride, so you're not doing the stutter step that you have been doing, so you should be able to get a better run up, and that should allow you to get a better feel and a better strike of the ball when you come through. Alright?
Raka began this exercise being very conscious of the steps he was taking. However, after only a few attempts, he was successful, and from this his confidence grew. This allowed him to be more relaxed, and because of this, he flourished.
Okay, Raka, so for this final activity, we're just going to be working on your accuracy. When you are shooting, it is very important to be accurate. So ideally, you want to be hitting it into the corners, because it's the furthest spot for the keepers. It makes it hardest for them to save it. So I've set up a point scoring system in the goals for you today. I set 5 cones in there. So we've got 2 on the outside, which are closest to the poles. They're worth 3 points each. And the 2 closest next in from them are worth 2, and the one in the middle is directly worth 1 point. The aim of it today is to try and get the most points, and to try and get into the corners. Alright, you ready?
Yep. Sweet.
In the beginning, Raka struggled to strike the ball accurately. However, after working on his technique, his shooting accuracy improved greatly, as he was able to consistently hit his desired targets. Because of the drastic improvements Raka has made, I am confident he will fulfill his desire to make the QT soccer team. After seeing the clips side by side, it is evident of the great improvement Riker has made. If he continues along this path, we may soon see him as the next David Beckham.